Well, that was interesting music. That was the first time I've heard that. But anyway, yes. Hello, people. We are here. We are here on Fans React. We are here to talk about Chelsea 1, Sunderland 2. And yes, that is not an audio typo. You have heard that correctly. Chelsea 1, Sunderland 2, which I'm pretty sure Dave will probably echo those thoughts. I was absolutely, I would have been staggered and thought you would have been on some sort of crystal meth if someone told me before the game we were going to win at Stamford Bridge. So, but yes, first and foremost, Dave, how are you getting on this wet, miserable Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, bad, Michael. Better for the result.
Absolutely. Absolutely, as I'm sure we all are. I'm sure everyone in the chat will be as well. And we have just literally been joined by someone who showed more punctuality than Shaw Middleton did last week. Here he is. It's Gary. Are you all right, mate?
Yeah, good. Sorry about that. Minute or two late. Been a hectic
Mate, don't worry.
weekend.
Your version is literally 2 minutes, not when Sean said he was going to be a minute and it ended up being 10. So, you know, no, but we were just saying that, as you probably heard, yes, I think it's safe to say we would have thought everyone's sanity would have been questioned if before the game you were going to tell us we were going to win 2-1 at Stamford Bridge and come from behind to do it.
Hang on a sec, Michael. Just hang on a minute. Sorry. Just put that up right.
Oh, is this your hooligan face on now? Is it?
Yeah. Now, what is? I've been smiling so much since 10 to 5 yesterday. I've got to keep sort of like covering up.
Oh, you're just trying to maintain. You're just trying to be humble, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it'll become unbearable for people after a couple of days. So I figured it was good to cover up every so often.
I wonder why you think like that, mate. Well, quickly go to some of the comments before we talk about the match.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we've got Scrappy Dog 100 says afternoon. Hello there, my friend. Dave the Rave himself. Good win, Sunderland last night 2-1. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Leanne Robson says afternoon. Hello, Leanne. Thank you very much for tuning in. Ranks 39. How good is this Regis fella, eh? No, he's terrible. No other club should take him off us. He should stay at Sunderland for life. Hello, Acacia. Sheffield Wednesday's #1 fan and says, afternoon, lads, Gary and Bowers. Yeah, obviously everyone knows Acacia, knows that she knows I'm joking there. And then obviously Ranks again says, morning boys from Chicago. We still buzzing? Nah, depressed we didn't win 5-1, mate. Yeah, and Acacia, what a massive win yesterday at Chelsea. It absolutely was massive. I've just got to get this little dig out of the way, and I want to caveat this by saying there is still a long way to go. There is still, 29 games left to play. But I'm just going to say that on my video, I did make a dig at those who said, oh, we haven't played anyone decent, or the wheels will come off, or they're not that good, or they've overpaid for their players. So if you can remember the jog on gif from Hot Fuzz of Simon Pegg, just imagine that in your head, and that is my response to anyone who tries to put our start down. But let's get on to it. So, Dave, I'll come to you first. Obviously, you said to me you weren't able to watch the game, but I'm pretty sure, you like me, you would have been absolutely stunned when you heard Chemsdean Talby had scored the winning goal.
Well, it's funny. I was watching on Sky, and Merson had the game. And to be fair, for a change, they were giving us decent comments. He said that Sunderland were well in the game and having the right goal. And right at the end, you just don't know. We play right to the end, but we didn't know they're good at the end as well. And they take a goal, and then you heard the goal go up. And as soon as it went to Merson, he was sitting the wrong way around with his hands on his head. You knew it was us that had scored. He said, I can't believe they've done that. They didn't just sit there and soak it up. They've actually tried to win it on the break. And that's exactly what happened. You can't get vexed at that, can you? We have no fear. And you've seen the way that we celebrated that, and people coming off the bench with a heavy winter coats on to celebrate it because it's there's real togetherness, and that's the massive thing about this club at the moment.
Absolutely is. And I think it's one of the things that it's such a cliche, but it's the absolute belief togetherness in every cliche. You want to come up with it. But yeah, look, honestly, I think I was, I can imagine you when you're sitting there watching Paul Merson and then you say, hang on, there's a goal at Stamford Bridge. And of course, if you think it's going to be a 90th minute goal, you think, oh, Chelsea have broken us down. And then it says 1-2 and you go, F off, F off, F off, F off, F off, F off. No way this is actually happening. And I said it on my channel as well that I think, and go subscribe to that, by the way, if you wouldn't mind. That'd be lovely. But obviously subscribe to Fans React too. But I was just saying, I was walking around so nervous that I missed both goals live on the stream, but I didn't care. I couldn't care less. I literally came in back from at the very end and saw 1-2, and I was just going, no, there's a mistake here. No, there is absolutely a mistake. Gary, go on, mate. What do you make of yesterday overall?
Well, I was down there, so
But even better, go on then.
yeah,
Take me away.
just you guys know what it's like. Just those special days that we're few and far between for maybe what 6 7 years, and then you get days like yesterday, and it was in some respects similar to the Wembley thing in terms of the late winner, um, and just the euphoria in the away end. And I know you'll have seen the clips of the what people call the limbs and stuff. Just just one of them days when it all came together, and yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, I've been beaming since then. And Wilson made a comment earlier, or he put it on social media about whether people were giving the team due respect or the club due respect. And he kind of says, let's prove them wrong. And I really felt yesterday, whoever's been saying it, wherever the noise is coming from, it's like, yeah, they're doing okay. They're doing okay. I think yesterday made people sit up and take notice. The fact it took us up to second as well, so much the better. But the social media, the TV, even the radio I've had talk sport on today, we're really high up on the discussion in terms. First time match of the day, all of a sudden it's like, oh, hang on a minute, these guys have got something, and team and fans giving us a fair bit of credit, including, to be fair, Chelsea fans saying, hang on, these are, that's not quite the smash and grab it might appear. These are a good team. They know what they're doing, and they were dangerous throughout, and possibly deserved the win as well. So I'm feeling very, very happy about the whole thing, and still probably in a bit of a state of surprise, I guess. So
I,
yeah,
I thought I
let's
thought you were going to say
build.
state of surprise, but also a bit fragility with a bit of a hangover today. But I don't know. I don't know.
No,
I'm
no,
not.
I was fairly steady. We got the train back last night, and I just had just enjoyed it. Just take it all in. When you get to my age, Michael, sometimes you just got to remember those moments because they are few and far between. And look, I can take up the next 60 minutes, talking about it. One of the things I will say, because I shared it with somebody last night, is um, my son wasn't really into football when he was younger, but I took him to a lot of matches, and he really got the bug just before COVID. And then after COVID, I says, look, we're going to get season ticket, blah, blah. And that was in League One. He's been to Accrington, he's been to Rochdale with me, he's been to Fleetwood with me. We've watched home defeats to really poor teams. And I've apologised to him on more than one occasion for he's not from Sunderland. He's from Yorkshire, he's from Leeds, and I've dragged him up there time and time again. But I always said to him, one day the good times will come back. I said it's cyclical. We will, and I didn't expect it to happen so quick. But yesterday, I pretty much said to him full time, "There you go. This is what it feels like. We've come to a big famous ground with a team that have cost millions more to get together. They call themselves world champions. I'm not sure about that. And I said, look, the team, the supporters, it's all come together. This is what makes us special. And I just kind of says to him, just enjoy this because you deserve it for where we've come from. And I'm in the same boat. I'm just milking it for all it's worth. And yeah, I will be unbearable with people. And I'm surrounded by Leeds and Man United and Liverpool fans and Huddersfield and all the rest of them. And yeah, they'll be hearing from me this week.
I wonder why. I absolutely wonder why. Miles Percival says, rumour has it Brian Robbie's held the M25 up all morning. Yeah, I think Robbie did really,
That's a
really well.
class.
Yeah, that in the build-up, but we'll get onto that in a bit. But yeah, let's go back to the start of the game. Obviously, it didn't start great, put it that way. I mean, actually, to be fair, before I do touch on Chelsea's goal, we had a great chance actually not long before then when we had I think I can't remember if it was from one of Mukiele's sensational long throws or whether it was from a free kick. I can't remember what it was from, but either way, a ball came in from the right hand side and it bounced towards Ballard, who actually had a free header on near the 6 yard box, which obviously was straight at the goalkeeper, straight at Sanchez. I think it was in goal
Yeah.
for Chelsea.
Yeah.
And obviously, as you both know, the typical hold, you've got to take your chances in the Premier League thing. And then lo and behold, and then about a minute or so later, straight down the other end, Chelsea attack us on the transition. There was a lovely through ball, which I did say at the time I felt it was a bit poor defensively from Sunderland, but I think you've just got to say Chelsea are just a good side, even if they're not as good as your Arsenals of this world at the moment. And Garnacho, of course, who I believe that was his first goal for Chelsea. So typically who it's against, it's Sunderland, of course it is. But I think we can live with it now. At that point, Dave, I don't know
Yeah.
if when you were keeping an eye on Sky, did you start to fear the worst a little bit once we went 1-0 down so quickly within the first 5 minutes? Or did you think we could still get something, but we're going to have to just stay in it for the time being?
Yeah, it's a bit mixed, Michael, because when you've been a supporter for as many years, you fear the worst, but also a niggle at the back thinking this team doesn't lie down, and they will come back, they will try, they'll not. In fact, they could go further behind because they try, but they didn't, and it was the way they've kept in the game and the way they've played out of defence, good football. There's no fluke in this. They're playing some good football, and they've got some good players. Obviously, they didn't cost the millions or billions of Chelsea, but they're a team. And yeah, I always thought, to answer your question a bit better, I always thought, while it's still one, they're going to go in it, and then we equalise, and then you think, no, hold on here. Can we come and do something? And you don't think it's really going to happen, I suppose, but it does, and it's a fantastic feeling to
Is it
get
more
that.
because you feel like nice things just don't happen to Sunderland very often?
Yeah,
As I'm,
probably. Yeah, I mean, like Gary was saying there before about going all these places. I mean, it's not that long ago we're losing to MK Dons and Doncaster at home,
Yeah.
oh God, yeah.
and suddenly now you're seeing this and you're thinking, it's a different world, isn't it? Different planet, and nobody, I don't think anybody thought we'd start like this.
No,
Nobody.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like I said, 17 points from the first 9 games or so. You're 1 point off 2 points per game. And I've always said that for me, the immediate target is still survival this season, which sounds mental. I know people are going to think that's negative after beating Chelsea away, but I think you've got to maintain to get the 40 points first. If you get the 40 points with a number of games left to go in the season, then get carried away with it. Maybe then anything's possible. But we just have to make sure. But I think Regis Labrise will be hammering that into the players. I think the group will know themselves. Look, this season's far from done. There's a long way to go. We've got to make sure we get the points on the board first. And, obviously, this is the first time when we had one of those. This probably for me was the first fixture I truly classed as a free hit in many ways. Because although Man United away and Man United have been, well, Man United in recent times, although they've won 3 on the bounce, which is good for them, but you always felt like Man United wasn't a free hit as such, but I felt like I wasn't expecting anything. Whereas this game, I thought, we get anything, it's a bloody bonus. And I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure that's the same for both of you and for any Sunderland fan, really. But yeah, as Dave alluded to, Gary, obviously not long, I think it was probably about, 15 minutes after the first goal, or within the first 20, 25 minutes. Of course,
20,
of course, I ended up missing it because I was sorting something out in the house. And when I came back and went, oh, get in, we've scored. But this one, I believe, did come from a long throw in.
yeah,
Mukiele, and by the way, how the hell this guy is this good at long throws, I have no idea. He's bringing the sexy trend of long throws back into the Premier League football. But anyway, ball throws in, the ball's thrown in. Sorry, Chelsea head it out into outside the 6-yard box. Traore then has a smash at it, but then it ricochets off, bounce towards Wilson Isidore, who taps home. His first goal away from home, I believe, this season in the Premier League. And obviously we doubled our goals tally away from home there. So at that point, I don't know what you guys, but I thought, okay, we've come back from behind. Let's see what we could do for it.
yeah, very much so. I think that was so important. Um, I thought like you were saying, we started well. We had that good chance from Ballard. We probably surprised ourselves how much we controlled those first few minutes. Um, in terms of the goal we conceded, I'll get this out of the way, Mr. Negative. I thought it was a poor goal to concede.
Yeah, I
We
did
had
as well.
Hume out of position. I think it was Ronaldo who I can never get his name right. Ronaldo who's got given the ball away. And for all we love Nordy at the back, and Roofs has been immense. I think they're both culpable for that goal. I think Nordy's tried to push him on his right, and he's done him. He's gone on the left, and I think he should have been closer to it. And it has gone through Roof's legs. I think it's gone underneath him. And I think we'll both look back and think that's a soft goal to concede. We were pressing, which is how they got that space. But at that point, you start to think, hang on a minute. And I said to somebody next to me, I says, look, we've got to come out now. We've got to play. And we're chasing the game. And I felt as though the sucker punch could have come. It didn't. It didn't. They had chances. They had a couple of decent chances, but we were excellent. We were excellent. We're all over the park and matched them everywhere. I think after that goal, Traore moved a bit deeper, and him and Hume doubled up on Garnacho, um, which certainly helped. Shore up that right side. Um, But yeah, once we got the goal back, and incidentally, and I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm jumping from topic to
Trust
topic.
me, if you go next to me, you'll look very structured. It's fine.
Yes, work well. Ballard at set pieces. He had got the Premier League defenders and managers absolutely worried to death. Against Wolves, they're all at the back post. What does he do? He goes near post and he knocks it on, causes chaos behind him. Same yesterday, goes to near post. If you look at that first goal, I think there are 4 Chelsea defenders around him. And although he might not get the head on it himself, I'm not sure he does, the problems he causes is somebody else gets the head on, bit of chaos, ball comes out, Traore. There's a lad they've put a lad on the line, which is why I think 2 of our players are on side. So yeah, it's a bit scrappy. But as Isidore said himself afterwards, something about trying to be a fox in the box. You know, he wants to pick up those chances by being there. And it was deserved on the state of play, balance of play at that time. It was deserved, and yeah, because like you, Michael, says it's a free hit. If we get anything from this, we're happy. I'm looking up at the clock and I'm thinking, if we get to half time, it's still 1-1. We're still in it. 65 minutes, 75 minutes last time. This is great. We're going to hold on for a draw. Come on. So you've got that mindset for 90 minutes, and then what happened just. That's where it's the point at which you think, yeah, I'll take this, and then you get better. That's
Yeah,
it.
no, I know exactly
It's
where
a
you're coming
lovely
from.
feeling.
Yeah, because I think I was watching, because that's why I was. Yeah, let's. We'll tell you what. I'll quickly ask before we get on to the end of the game. Of course, we'll go on to this. There was
Yeah.
one chance I remember at 1-1. I think where I can't remember, was Garnacho had a shot where it was from a set piece and he shoots and Roof saves it. I mean, it's a routine save for Roofs, really, but it's on the line regardless of that. But
Yeah.
I don't know what you two think. Did Chelsea create anything major after they scored the first goal, apart from the one I've just mentioned? Even if you call that a major chance, because I'm struggling to remember.
No, I mean there was a shot from outside the area that Roos. It was a good shot. Roos tipped it over.
Caicedo, I think, who shot.
Can't remember. Possibly, I think it was one of the defenders came forward and had a pop. That was a decent effort first half.
But see, Gary, the fact you're making that face suggests they didn't create all that much.
No,
Like,
no, like I said,
and exactly. So it's, and although as much as the one area where they did dominate is possession, but as I've said before, and Dave's heard me say this countless times, it's not about how much of the ball you have, it's what you do with it when you've got the ball and how productive you are when you have possession. And I think what Sunderland impressed me the most about was that we kind of looked like we'd learned from Man United, where Man United for me at the start, we were a little bit too open, and then Man United were able to sort of capitalise off of that. Whereas, although yes, we conceded in the first few minutes, once we got the 1-1, we were able to. We kind of sat in a low block, but also didn't defend at the same time. I felt like we were the ones creating the better chances. And I remember Isidore had a great chance, I think, a goodish chance in the first half at 1-1 when he managed to get to the left-hand side of the 6-yard box and shoots at the side netting. But it's good. It's a very good run. And the pass from Xhaka, I think it is a really good one through, though, that just undoes their defence. So it was like Sunderland were happy to sit in a low block, but we weren't just defending. We were actually like trying to get at Chelsea and go forward. And actually, David, and you probably know this, you probably can answer this better. I think Paul Merson mentioned something like that, didn't he? Where he said that Sunderland weren't there just to sit back for a point. They actually were there. Yes, they were structured, but they did still try to go for the win when they had the ball.
Exactly. And he said they're a very good side coming out. There's no fear. You know, there's respect, but there's no fear. And we put the ball around really well. And I mean, when you mentioned before the long throw and everything, it's a weapon because you know that Ballard's going to come mayhem in there. Yeah, not just Ballard. Last week already did as well. I was a bit concerned about him, Wolves. But then you get Wolves and Chelsea both making comments like, it's a long throw. Well, yeah, so what? It's into our strengths. And that's what you've got to do to get points in this league. And, it was a bit of a ricochet, bagatelle, knocking the ball around in the box before Isidore put it in. But he put it in. And then later on, when we're coming out on the break, you mentioned the chance that Isidore had. He had one in the second half as well, I think. And Zaka had a chance.
Yeah.
And then, the way, I don't know, the way Robbie holds, being called Mr. Robbie, by the way, at the moment, the way he holds it up is phenomenal. I'm going to say it sounds awful. It reminds me of Valdador, but a bit better.
I was going to say, hopefully, he's quite a bit better than Altidore, but I do get, the comparisons, like physique and stature. They do appear the similar type of player, don't they?
He looks like a heavyweight boxer.
Mhm.
He looks like a footballer. And when he was running after that ball, he's not particularly quick, but he got there first, held it up, and just waited. And when you see where he is, when that ball goes to Brian Brobby, I mean, he's got about 60, 70 yards on the end of that. And it just shows what we've got and what belief we have. So, well done, eh? Well, great stuff.
To wait a summer. Go on then, let's get on to it, because obviously the second half, I think Chelsea, again, like I said, there was the pattern of them having the ball, but we were like the one with Isidore when I think he was running through and I think he was tackled at the last minute. Xhaka, of course, made a great run into the box and skinned one or two of their players and just couldn't quite find the angle off for the finish. But again, like even the substitutes from the Priest, I think Talby ended up coming on, Rig ended up coming on. Broby, of course, himself ended up coming on. So really, the subs ended up combining to get the extra 2 points. So go on then, Gary. Talk us through the moment in the away end when that winner goes in, because obviously it's a counter attack, isn't it? It's a long ball
Yeah,
forward,
yeah.
and Brian Broby, of course, runs forward, holds the ball up brilliantly. That to me, I imagine in the ground, that must have felt like an age from when Broby's here, and then Talby runs towards him and then slots it home. That must have felt like an eternity in the away end.
I think it did. The time at which Robbie was on the ball, holding them off, time stopped. I mean, I was criticising him for not taking it first time because I think there was just a brief moment when a volley might have been on if he'd just been a bit quicker, as you said. Uh, and then he's holding two of them up, and it's like, what's he trying to do? Is he going to try and turn a shot? Well, and it did seem to go on forever. And then all of a sudden, I think it was both Gertruda and Talby sort of like all of a sudden appear because we're watching Brobby, and all of a sudden they've got up.
Just go, where the hell have they come from all of a sudden?
Well, then weirdly, it was it was a really, remember the one he missed against Man United? He probably snatched it.
Yes.
He's got time. It's a perfect ball to him, by the way. It's perfectly weighted, and it's a really easy finish. He slots it in at the corner, and yeah, it was just bedlam in the away end. The limbs you've seen on TV and stuff perfectly describe the utter euphoria at that point. Not only at that point, but streaming out. You guys know what it's like. You go outside the ground, and it's all Sunderland. It's Sunderland on the tube. It's Sunderland down the streets outside the boozers, and the locals don't know what the hell to make of it. And it's just that euphoria, that feeling. I don't know. I don't know. I can't believe any other club quite have that like we have it. It just seems so. Don't know what the word is. Just so very very special at that time, and random strangers hugging you, or the guy behind, putting his hand on his shoulder, and we're giving it both of that. It's special. It's really special, and yeah, absolutely loved it. And fair play to Robbie for what he's done there. I presume that's the instruction: hold the ball up, allow other players to come in. I mean, Gertruda made a hell of a run. It was him who cleared it, and yet
And bearing
somehow
in mind, he's been playing all game as well, by the way. It's not like
absolutely.
he's just come on with 10 minutes to go either.
I couldn't believe that was him. I couldn't believe he'd got there. And again, Talby criticised for missing the chance at Man United, albeit we're 2-0 down, but just a perfect finish. And then just to see them all at the end, right in front of the away and celebrating. Spot on. Fantastic. You couldn't have scripted it any better.
Gary,
No.
what was Gratuita like in the whole game? Because he's
I was
obviously
really impressed. He made
What I
one.
saw on the stream, he looked really good, to be fair. But it might be different inside the ground.
No, I thought he was excellent. He made one mistake, and I think it was first half when he gave the ball away in a dangerous position. And he was getting not pelters for it, but a few people saying he's wanted too much time on the ball. He needs to get used to the fact he can't do that. And he's not. Let's be honest, he's not played a lot of Premier League football. But apart from that, I thought he was excellent. The other thing is that I wasn't quite sure what was going on between him and Hume, because he seemed to start. I'm not sure where he started. He seemed to start as a deep lying midfielder. But then the last 10, 15 minutes, Hume was in midfield and Gertruda was playing right back. So there was clearly some kind of rotation going on. But he's a very capable footballer. He's good on the ball. He can spot a pass. I'm not sure he'll be able to. We can drop him from what I saw yesterday. I'm not quite sure his best position is, but he's looking very, very much like a very, a quality footballer. And I've been hoping to see a full game from him, and I thought he was very good. I think, as with, I'm a massive Siddiqui fan, by the way.
Same.
Him quite easily for 60 minutes, but he's quality. He is.
Yeah.
So
Michael, do you remember last week on the stream I said to you that I thought that would be very fluid. You would be on one side and then he'd be on the other, and this is just what Gary's saying. Suddenly he's not at right back; he's in the middle, and that makes it difficult for opposition to pick the player up because they don't know who they're picking up.
Well, what's
Because
great as well is if
one
they're
minute,
interchangeable like that,
yeah, exactly.
and if they rotate as seamlessly as that, then all of a sudden, if you pick one up, then Hume's got space. And if you pick Hume up, then Gertrude's also got a lot of space. No, I think it's a very valid point you both make. And like I've said before, it's amazing how we've gone from George Dobson and Josh Scowen to Gertrude and Siddiqui. Gary's face says it all. Yep, we've lived through the
You had
PTSD.
to mention them, didn't you?
Of course I did. Of course I did, to make the point of how far we have come. But yeah, on Gertrude, because that was his first start for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mainly been coming off the bench. Actually, I thought he was, and obviously we had the news that Alderete was out with concussion, basically, and hopefully he's back for the Everton game. But the thing that's because we're talking like this, it's a really positive conundrum to have, because you can go, well, hang on, if you put him there, but that means you're taking him out. But if you put them there, then you can put them there, and then everything. And it's a far cry from, well, if he gets injured, we're screwed because we don't have anybody else. So it's really, really impressive to see. And again, this is without. Oh, that was without Alderete yesterday and Habib Diarra, our record signing as well. Which is another thing to talk about, really. But I think across the game, and one of the things I thought was great to mention quickly, go back to the winning goal, was that even with Broby, even if nothing came of it, the fact he was a focal point and was able to get that ball held up, even if it ended 1-1, it would have relieved a lot of pressure. And we would be sitting here, I think, if it ended 1-1, going, yep, cracking point, you move on to the next one. So either way, and it's like, I think Gary's analogy was perfect when he said, yeah, it looks like we're going to get, I don't know, let's make a really random food analogy. Let's say it feels like you're getting a 4-star meal and then it turns into a 5-star one in the space of a few seconds. That's the best way I can think of to describe it. But no, so like I think that Lebris, and Lebris, by the way, is someone who I've criticised quite a bit in terms of his timing of his substitutions sometimes, but that's not exclusive to him. That's a Sunderland head coach thing that has annoyed me for so long. But fair play, he made the subs when he did, and actually, I was impressed at the fact that the players on the pitch thought, hang on, Scrooge is sitting for a point here. We could get a win. And never in a million years, I think Sunderland AFC would think they could go to Chelsea realistically and think, oh, come on, we can pick up 3 points here. Now, maybe what might have helped us is that Chelsea played Ajax on Wednesday night and most of the team was still the same team, but it doesn't matter. You've still got to play what's in front of you. You've still got to go out and do the job. We went 1-0 down and coming from behind to do it. So I think, and I want to ask you both this, because this is something I heard in the summer, and this could be nothing to put this out there. It's safe to say for us, as fans, the expectation is staying up, or I'll rephrase that, the aim is staying up. I think it's pretty realistic. There's suggestions and murmurings from inside the group and the club they want to do more than that. Would that based on yesterday, that wouldn't surprise me too much if that was true.
No, I think what it is that the noises they've made is, yeah, we want to stay up. That's our prime aim, which it has to be, to stay in the Premier League. But secretly, behind closed doors, they're saying, we've got good enough players here. If we get a run, we get a few wins behind us. At the start of the season, you're talking about maybe 10, 11 wins to stay in the league. You've got 29 games left. If that's the analogy, you need 6 more wins out of 29 games. And the way we're playing, so yeah, I think that they've obviously thought we have good enough players. We've signed good enough players. We've signed players that have got that other vital quality, though. They want to be part of a team. There's nobody that thinks that they are the real big I am. There's people who will say we'll bring you back down to earth, like we're hearing the story about Zaka with Rig. Saying, right, okay, son, you're a good player, but I've been around a while and I'm telling you this is how you do it. And that's exactly what you need, but not being above you. And we haven't got any player who's to think he's above the team. And that's massive.
Yeah, it's all about the sort of the team camaraderie, isn't it? And I think there was I think that one of the interviews that Talby did with the club, it might have been him with the club. I can't remember what there was an interview. Definitely said one of the players said our biggest strength is that we're a team, and I think that's
Talby said it.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going delusional. Yes, so yeah, Talby did end up saying that, and that's actually one of the things. And I want to quickly mention this. Do you see their post-match interview with BBC after the game, when the
Yes,
reporter asked, "No, so do you know? Congratulations, great win, and do you know where you are in the league?" And of course, Isidore goes, "Well, we're on 17 points, so what? Fourth, fifth, second?" And they go, "Oh, that's nice, isn't it?" And I think Talby just goes, "Yeah, we've just got to keep going." And I'm just like, do you know what? Like, it's hard these days to get attached to players for me because you know how quickly things can
yeah,
move
yeah,
on. But I do get the impression this group, at the very least, does like playing with each other and playing
yeah,
for the badge. Which, by the way, is something I've always said that if you have the right effort and desire, that goes a longer way than people think it does.
definitely. And you think if you see what I was alluding to previously there, Michael, when they scored the goal, and you see the celebration in the corner with Talby, and two of the people down there are Rafie, who's been taken off with his big coat on, and Gugu Nayan are in there celebrating. And then you see the rest of them run down, they've all come out the dugout. A team, a
Yeah,
team that celebrates together, works together, and does everything, loses together.
yeah.
Doesn't matter. We're going to be together as a group.
What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, just I'm not nodding away to what Dave's just said. I think it was the Talby interview last night. Some comment was made to him, and he said, we're Sunderland. This is what we do. He's only been in the club a couple of months, and he's talking about we as the almost the wider group, which I love. When Labrie was asked at the start of the season about something was said about Man City, and he said, "No, they're Man City, and he's Guardiola, I'm Labrie, and this is Sunderland. That's an identity thing." And that's obviously Zach has straight away got it, and he feels an affinity. You can see that end of the match. So we've got this camaraderie, and just picking up on what Dave said. I was talking to a Wolves fan last week, and he's absolute despair. And I said, I didn't think we played that well. I didn't think you played that badly. I said, but the total difference for me between the two teams is Wolves have got no belief whatsoever. We've got it in abundance. Salute. And this till the end thing, and Isidore mentioned it again yesterday, this belief we can still go on and win it in additional times. We're not settling for 1 point at Chelsea. We're not settling for penalties against Coventry. Once they've got that, and once they're going for it, that's the team with, I mean, that extraordinary belief. Labrie will talk, he often talks about connection. He did it in pre season. Oh, this is about the connection of the players, the connectivity, the group. He's always talking about the group. He rarely gets into individuals. And if he praises, he mentions the defence, he'll mention the attack at the same time. It's clearly about I think he praised his backroom staff yesterday as well. It's
Yes,
clearly about the whole group, the players, the subs, first team squad, the backroom staff, the people who do the jobs around recruitment or whatever it might be. Look, that's powerful. You work in any business or any group, to have that kind of group mentality. We're all in it together, guys. It's powerful, Dave, as you said. And if
yes,
they've got that feeling, then it's I think it'll really push us on. By the way, just one point of concern, and it's a minor one. I know Robbie took some stick. I think it might have been after was it Forest or Man United? A bit of I say it's a bit of stick. I think there was one or two people had a bit of a go at him, probably compared him to Altidore. And he got picked up by the Dutch press. That Sunderland fans weren't happy with him.
Yeah, I did see this.
Sunderland fans were right behind him yesterday. He got brilliant cheers when he came on. When Talby scored and everybody went to the corner, he didn't. He kind of walked along and sort of like got his hands around him and sort of like dragged him across a little bit. And at the end of the game, I think he was the first off. He certainly kind of walked off while the rest of them were celebrating. As I understand it, he had some difficult life experiences last year. He had a bit of a bad time and he didn't have a great season. Ajax. I just hope that he can be brought in, and it might just be his character, but I really hope we get him involved and make him feel like a really important part of the squad. Because with the strengths he's got, he could be a very, very big part of the season for us. So I hope that's not me looking too much into it, and we can keep him involved. And he needs a few starts as well, no doubt.
Well, I think after everything that's allegedly happened to him, I think that's going to affect any human being, let alone any footballer. It's so I'll not get into it here, but it's been some pretty extreme stuff that was going
Yeah,
on in Brian Brobby's life outside of football. So I think, and obviously those things put football into perspective, really. But even just the thing you've just said there, getting him around the arm and just going, "Come on, let's go and do it." That's a prime example of what I'm on about. Like, and
Yeah.
that's where it's this inclusivity where everyone feels together and everything else. And not to make Gary put his head in his hands too much here, but I'm going to say this, but if you think back to the back-to-back relegation years, a lot of those players literally look like they couldn't care less about what happened with us. And that's the whole point. You have someone that's got camaraderie and fight and everything else. And what was it? And actually, I can't believe I'm going to credit Simon Grayson with something because I thought he was honking at Sunderland. But he is right. When a club like Sunderland, if you get momentum, it takes some bloody stopping. It takes some very, very hard. And even talking about not settling for penalties against Coventry or the Till the End campaign last year, which I still stand by. For my heart rate, Sunderland, I'd appreciate if they stopped taking it so literally, because I would prefer that I didn't have heart palpitations near the end of every single game. But having said all of that, one, it does wonders for the confidence, and I think confidence was there anyway before yesterday, but that'll just skyrocket it. We just got to make sure we keep our feet on the ground and not get like arrogant or ahead of ourselves. But I don't think this group will do that. I don't think this group will end up doing it. And there'll be off games. Of course there will be. But the fact of the matter is, you think when we came up with the best momentum out of Leeds, Burnley and Sunderland, because it was literally 88th minute winner, 122nd minute aggregate winner, 95th minute winner in every playoff game. So it's all about confidence, momentum, belief, everything else. And that attributed to the fact that this season, what I think we ended up earning 2 extra points against Brentford in stoppage time.
Yeah.
We ended up sealing the victory. Okay, Wolves kind of did it for us, but sealed the win against Wolves in added time, and then got the winner in extra time yesterday. So this belief that we've got, and that's why results for me are so important at the start of the season if you can do it, because the more belief there is, the more points you get, the less the pressure comes, which then builds more belief. It's such a happy cycle. So I think we'll quickly mention this comment from Ranks, and he says, to that point, it starts at the top. RLB makes no excuses and gives credit where it's due, but Pereira last week talked like we weren't even playing football. All I'll say is Pereira Sunderland 2, Wolves 0. Maresca didn't mention us post-match, etc. Now, that's the thing. Now, truthfully, I agree with what Gary said last week, not to mention it too much about Wolves. Second off, I didn't think Sunderland played that great. But the difference is we were effective enough to get the job done. And to remember, Wolves established since 2018 in the Premier League. This is I think it's their 8th straight season in the top flight. Whereas we've just come back up after that near enough that same amount of time. We've been stuck playing teams in League One and in the Championship. So, that's encouraging. And you're winning in all sorts of different ways. Now, I think this result, and one thing I've always said, and I said this last week, and Dave knows, well, you all know in the group chat that we're in. I've said that it hacks me off when I see fans of particularly like Leeds or Burnley saying this, when Newcastle fans, fine, they're not wanting to be objective about us anyway, I can live with that. But it's when fans of Leeds and Burnley go on like, well, Sunderland have had easy fixtures and all this other stuff. One, everyone was saying at the start of the season there was no easy game, so that's a load of rubbish. Two, there is no easy games in the Premier League, because if that was the case, Forest would have beaten West Ham, or Brighton or Tottenham would have beaten Wolves. Doesn't work like that. And then three, if yesterday is not beating anybody decent, then what is beating anyone decent? And for me, I felt like going into the next, I looked at this next run of games as a block. So between the October and November international breaks, you had Wolves, Chelsea, Everton and Arsenal. I said if you get 4 or 5 points out of that lot, I'm happy with that. Wolves being the big one. Now I'm thinking, can we get 9 or 10? But look, joking aside, I think we're looking at, obviously we don't play for another week now. We've got Everton home on the Monday night. So we could make it as toxic as possible for Mr. Moyes. That would be lovely. But that being said, Everton at home, and again, we have to remember, Everton are no slouches. There's no slouch in the Premier League whatsoever. Everton have got some cracking players. Jack Grealish, I'm a massive fan of, for example, as a player. David Moyes with them, as much as I hate to admit it, because I don't like Moyes for obvious reasons. But Moyes with Everton, I think they're going to be a very solid, hard unit to play against. But we've already got 6 points out of this group of fixtures, which included Chelsea away. So for the next couple of games, for Everton and for Arsenal, what would you both be saying is what would you say is, well, I say acceptable? What do you feel in regards to the next 2 games?
Michael, I'm going to answer that by going back to what you said earlier about, and LeBrie mentioned it last night. What's the minimum requirement, so to speak? We're aiming for. You mentioned 40 points.
Yeah.
Whatever, 23 off that. And people are going, don't be so silly. You should be thinking about Europe, you should be thinking about the other. And he kind of grounds people. And to answer your question about what might be said behind the scenes, I've worked in companies before where you'll say that's the target, that's the minimum requirement, but that's the stretch target. That's what happens if everything comes together. Excuse me, and we meet our potential. And I think it's okay to do that. It's okay to say that we've got to achieve that. That's the absolute given. But if we're being, if we're stretching
But if things
ourselves,
go for us, we could achieve that.
exactly. And I suspect that's the conversation. And let's not forget how data led we are. By
Yeah,
the and
absolutely.
praising Christian Speakman here, they will have assessed and they will have evaluated, and they've said, "Hang on a minute, Alderetti's taken to it straight away. Mukalele's taken to it straight away. Siddiqui looks top class. Don't even need to talk about Zaka. We don't need to talk about Roofs, etc." Actually, all the stats will be saying these guys are not overachieving. They've exceeded our expectations. What I meant to say. And so, yeah, I think they will be saying, hang on a minute, guys, we should be looking at top 10 here as a minimum. Sorry, not as a minimum, but as a realistic target. But in terms of what we're saying to the players and the fans, calm everybody down. And I've said this to people, if we get to 40 points, then we'll reevaluate. Another thing, just to try and calm everybody down a little bit, which is rich coming from me, but people are talking about how we've made this great start, and very few promoted teams have got to 17 points after whatever it is, 9 games.
9 games.
The if you go through that list, one of the teams on there fairly close to the top is Hull. I can't remember what season it was. It might have been about
2008, 9, I want to say.
something like that. Yeah. And they did something similar. They finished 17th last season. They stayed up.
Oh yeah.
Well, they
But
finished
yes, I know what you
17th.
mean. Yeah, exactly. We
They
need to.
bombed in the second half.
Yeah,
So
I
there's
agree
always
with
that
you.
word of warning. And I remember, and I'm sure you guys do as well, Peter Reid's teams, similar position in October, up near the top, second position, looked as though they were overachieving. Bad second half of the year. Okay, we still finished seventh, which we'd accept. But it's a long, long season. And that's
Exactly.
why I think Labrie will calm everybody down.
I
And
think back in the old days, I don't know if you can remember, I'm the old man here, but Mike Walker, when he was in manager of Norwich City, can you remember that? When they got him
Yes.
Bayern Munich and all this, that, and the other. He said, doesn't matter what happens at the start of the season, your aim is 40 points. Anything after that's a bonus.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking at, just as you've said, Gary. That's what we're looking at. And if we can do that, I did think one thing yesterday. You said that, Michael, you mentioned there that Maresco never said nothing about us. But he did make some comment about when you play teams like these, you've got to be at it. And when I mean teams like these, you mean teams that aren't frightened of you, who get in your face, who rough you up a little bit, get the ball and play football against you. Is that what he means? Because the week previous, what's the Wolves manager's name?
Victor Pereira.
Yeah, he wasn't very respectful either, I didn't think. But it doesn't matter because we took 6 points.
To be fair, Dave, they're in a no-win situation. They've
I
got
know.
they've got to make excuses, because the guys above them will be saying, hang on a minute, we were expecting a 3-0 win today. What happened? So they've got to make excuses. If they play us up, then half of the fan base is going to say, you're making Sunderland sound like Brazil. What's going on? We should have won that.
Well, I mean, Gary, we are. Come on, you can't exactly say we're not.
But I also like the
Yeah.
fact it kind of pushes us under the radar a little bit. And there's one or two people say, hang on a minute. This is not lucky. Jason Cundy said it on TalkSport. We've already mentioned Merson. People are saying, hang on, you better start taking notice of these guys. They've got some very, very good footballers. But I actually quite like that people are underplaying it. Or they have done. Or you've not played anybody. They're making excuses. You've not played anybody. You were lucky against this. Like, yeah, whatever. Keep saying that. I love that outside noise, because I think it just makes the players think, right, we'll show you. And it creates a nice mentality for me. So keep, the siege mentality, call it what you will, keep bringing it on. And I'm going to quote, I'm not comparing our team to the Man United team who won the treble under Ferguson. But that whole thing about Fergie time was about the belief that they were always going to win.
Yeah.
And so he'd stand there and he'd tap the watch or whatever, because he knew that in those last 2 or 3 minutes, wherever it might be, he had players with belief who would just find a way to get it over the line. And if we've got that belief in our squad, going back to what Dave said, then yeah, that'll stand us in good stead. It's not just a coincidence, is it? These late goals. There's something more happening.
I said last week on here that you know, the
I
like
was just
Michael
saying.
said,
So, sorry, Dave. Yeah, just saying that
Yeah.
if Wolves lose this game, I'm really worried for them. But yeah,
oh
hopefully we're not in that conversation at the end of the season. But sorry, go on, Dave.
yeah, I was just going to say that last week I mentioned about how the percentage of the ball we have, and you saying earlier that it's not about having the ball; it's what you do with it when you've got it. And we only had 30% of the ball again yesterday, according to the
Yeah.
stats. And the last time I've seen a team do this was Leicester when they won the league. I'm not saying we're going to win the league.
I was just gonna say, Dave, don't start getting everyone excited.
It's the same sort of football. It's the same sort. Well, right, okay, we'll soak you up. We'll do what we can do, and then we'll hit you on the break. Leicester had Vardy at the time, who was obviously an outstanding striker at that time. We don't have an outstanding striker like that, but it's the same sort of format. We can take as much as you can throw at us, and we'll try and hit you on transition, and that's what we're doing. And long may it continue.
Here's one I'll ask you this, right? And I don't know if you guys like the term XG or not, or if it makes you roll your eyes and you get annoyed at it. But I'm just going to ask you this, right? So expected goals. So we mentioned, so the possession here is 31% possession yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who had a higher XG, do you think?
We did quite considerably, I seem to think.
Well, it's Chelsea's
Was it
according. So
three, was it?
this is according to Sky Sports. So blame them if this is wrong. But it's Chelsea's was 0.97.
Yeah.
Sunderland's was one. Sunderland's was 1.16 expected goals.
I thought it was higher, to be honest.
But either way, the fact you're going to Chelsea away from home and having a higher XG while having better chances with less of the ball, I think it's a blueprint for how playing a low block actually isn't. It sounds defensive, but it's not if you use it in the right way. And that for me, and this is where I've said before, having players like say Xhaka, for example, in the midfield, and often, as you guys know, games can often be won and lost in the midfield. So the fact you've got some, and this is where we need to wrap them in cotton wool to make sure they don't get injured. But yes, so but yeah, no. To start to really wrap it up, really, I think no. I think the main aim, like I think Gary's analogy is perfect. Like the minimum aim that is 40 points, and I think the way I've kind of looked at it is every game that's gone by, you go right. Like for example, before Wolves, I said we need what was it? So what were we on before Wolves? 29 points to stay up. After Wolves, I went right 26 points. Now I'm going right 23 points, and gradually I want to be going say I don't know 20 points. Like 18 points, 15 points, so on. But you want that tally to come down and down and down as the season goes on, because then you've got more points on the board. But yeah, I think if we do get the 40, if we do, if or when we get the 40 points, then like you said, I think reevaluate and see what we could do from there. Because then the rest of the season becomes a free hit. If you end up getting 40 points, you think it would be quite unlikely that you get relegated. And bear in mind, obviously, at the minute, Wolves are losing. If Wolves lose to Burnley, then what's that, 2 points from their first 9 games? Which is going to be really concerning for Wolves. Then you've got West Ham, who don't look in any great shape at the moment. And when we talk about belief or the mood around the club, the mood seems toxic at West Ham at the moment. They've just lost to Leeds and Brentford in a week. So, and then you've got Leeds and Burnley, who I believe I'm going to be angry. I believe we should be finished ahead of the pair of them, personally. Whether that means all three of us go down and we finish 18th, I don't know. But I think we should be. I'd be disappointed not to finish above the two of them. But yes, 40 points is definitely the target. And I think we have to bear in mind AFCON. Of course, that's going to play a part. I think people overblow it slightly in that they're acting like it's half a season when it's up to 6 games. There is still over 30 games that we wouldn't have. We won't have AFCON issues, but there is injuries, there's suspensions, this sort of stuff happens. So yeah, I
How
think for
many
me
players will we actually lose, Michael? Because Siddiqui and Ronaldo seem
Sadiki,
definite.
Reynoldo, Diarra,
Diarra's,
Traore,
we're
Talby.
already without Diarra.
Well,
Traore,
yeah,
I
okay.
don't think is necessarily in our best 11. Who else is after that?
Who we mentioned so far?
Well,
Siddiqui, Diarra, Ronaldo, Traore.
Dingra,
Who was that there?
Dingra,
Adingra,
All right, so yeah.
Talby.
Talby.
Oh, Talby, yeah. Yeah.
So we're not going to play with any wingers,
All right.
basically.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, okay.
Point
So
Oh,
taken.
well, Mundo back, hopefully.
that is true. Yeah,
We don't know
I
how
don't,
well
I
they
don't want to
go.
put him out there, but Isidore can play on the left as well. So
Yeah.
there are things you can do to get by in it. But if you're looking across AFCON, I think the more the games across that period, like Brighton away, Leeds at home, Man City at home, Spurs away, Brentford away, Palace at home. I think that's the most of it. I think for me, if you beat Leeds in that run in, then I think you go, right, okay, then get a draw here, there. I don't see us losing all 6 games, put it that way. I do see us picking some points up. Maybe not against Man City or Spurs, but like and even Palace to a degree. But yeah, there are all these things to bear in mind. But this is why getting the points now is important, because then if AFCON does affect us, then we've got that safety buffer to go, right, we're on this many points already. Let's just keep ourselves well above the bottom three if we can, and then we'll go for it from there. And there's another score update. Villa are beating Man City 1-0. Almost like Villa's not an easy game. Just putting it out there. But yeah, I'll put it out there. But yes,
That's
so
number 10 then.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. AFCON will be tough, but we only lose Ronaldo from our defence, and that's our foundation.
good
Well, this is the
point.
thing, because you could have it be where it's, if you play with a back four, you could go Mukiele, Hume, full-backs. You could go Ballard and Alderete. This is assuming everyone's fit, obviously, but then you could put Gertruda with Xhaka in the midfield. You could have Lefay, you could have Rig. There is still enough there to, obviously the depth would be a concern, but there is enough there to make an 11 at least, assuming we don't get any further injuries. But this is Sunderland with injuries. We know what we're like, so I'm not going to count my chickens yet. But the bottom dollar is, look, we're on 17 points after 9 games. Now, for me, like I said, 23 points is what we need to get. It's not, I think it's quite, not inconceivable because anything could happen, but it's difficult to imagine Sunderland not getting 23 points from 29 games. We could average less than a point a game now, and we could still have a good shot of staying up. That's such as good as the start. But I don't know if there's anything you guys, either you guys want to add to end to my waffling before we let people get on with their Sunday?
We will be criticised, the three old heads who are in here now, for downplaying stuff. But I think it's better to be, at this stage, still realistic. Once we've played everybody, which I think we do once we've played Spurs on 3rd of January,
Yeah.
then I think that's a good time to reevaluate. Nobody should take anything for granted. By the way, we've got 3 tough games coming up, I think, in the next 6. Arsenal, City and Liverpool.
Well,
That's
just to add it, sorry to interrupt you, Guy, but just to add it, I think until that Spurs game, I think our run is Everton, Arsenal, Fulham, Bournemouth, Liverpool, Man City, Saudi Arabia, Brighton, Leeds, Man City, and Spurs. That's our next 11.
yeah,
So,
a lot well remembered, by the way.
yeah, but I'm autistic and I'm sad. So, yeah, we'll go with that way.
Regardless, I'm
You
impressed.
can blame me autism for that. That's the convenient excuse. The IT crowd clip goes, "I'm disabled," so I can just go along that route anyway.
I'm
But
going to test you on that. Sorry,
the point I'm getting at is in that next 11 games, you got Man City twice, you got Liverpool, Arsenal. And I think Spurs, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City twice. So it's, and then even look at the non-traditional big 6. Newcastle, for all I call them Saudis, that's not an easy game. Then you got Bournemouth. Bournemouth deserve a lot of respect. They've done really well this season. Everton, no slouches. Brighton away, we know what they're about. They're a very competent Premier League side. And even like Leeds and Fulham, they've not had a great time of it as of recently. But again, I say Leeds won on the other weekend, but you know what I mean. Like, there's still hard games. There is no easy games within that run. If we can get 10 to 12 points across that 11-game run, then I think you've done pretty good, to be honest. And I know that might sound like I'm downplaying it, but it is realism. Now, if we can scrape a few results, like if you look at like Liverpool and Man City, are we realistically expected to go and get anything from those two? Probably not. Then Man City at home, more than likely not. Spurs are Spurs. You never know, but again, like they're not slouches. So the good thing is now, the more points you get now, the less pressure there is, and it might in a way mean we perform better. You never know. So it just goes to show it. But I would say if we get to around 27 points to 30 points after we've played Tottenham, if we can, then you never know what could happen. And then after that, January is a big month where I think you got Brentford, and I think I've got Brentford quite wrong, by the way, because they deserve to beat Liverpool last night, I think. So, Brentford away is tough. Every game is, of course, with Brentford away, that's obviously not easy. Palace FA Cup holders for a reason. West Ham and Burnley at the end of January for me are the 2 big ones. Where if you do well in both of them, then you just never know, do you? But no. Thanks very much to the pair of you for joining us. Is there anything, Dave, you want to add before we finish?
No, fine.
I thought he was going to say apart from we're winning the Premier League because he's making the comparison to Leicester, but
not yet.
Fair play. Yeah. We know we're not going to win the Prem, but just as Davey said on BBC Radio Newcastle, where God rest his soul, get carried away. Keep your feet on the ground to some degree, but to some extent enjoy it. And remember everything we've gone through over the last 10 years, right? Particularly, I would say since the 7th place Peter Reid finishes, truthfully, but especially the last 8 years. And given what's happened with them up the road, we've had to watch that while not being in the Premier League. So enjoy it. And as Davey rightly said, if you can't enjoy times like these, you might as well give up. But we've seen enough. Let's keep going. As Rank says there perfectly. Feet on the ground, head in the clouds, boys. Great insights. Let's
I
get
like that.
carried away. Yep, I love the way that Ranks has done that. But anyway, guys, thank you very much to everyone who has commented and watched this, and thank you to these two legends for joining me. So, is there anything you want to say before we go? Even though I've said that about 5 times now.
Pleasure to speak to you both. That's all good.
Thanks, Gary. Nice to speak to you.
Cheers, Dave. Nice to talk to you too.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael.
I'm joking. I know what you mean. So anyways, thank you very much to everyone, and yeah, enjoy your Sunday. Take care, and how are the lads?